Good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins. And I got a really important story here for Rants and Lifestyle because it's been all over the news the last couple of days here. And like I said, whatever happens in one English-speaking country, guess what? It happens in all the other English-speaking countries. There is a problem, and it's called birth tourism. Now, is it a problem? Are we just overreacting? Am I just seeing the wrong side of things, or do the negative connotations, or am I not looking at the bigger picture? So let's take a look at this together, okay? Birth tourism is travel to another country for the purpose of giving birth in that country. Anchor baby is another related term which can have negative connotations. The main reason for birth tourism is to obtain citizenship for a child in a new country with a birthright citizenship. Justice, yeah. Other reasons include access to public schooling, healthcare, sponsorship for the parents in the future, or even circumvention of China's two-child policy. Popular destination includes the United States of America and Canada. Another target for birth tourism is Hong Kong, where mainland Chinese citizens travel to give birth and gain right of abode for their children. To discourage birth tourism, Australia, France, Germany, Ireland, New Zealand, and South Africa, and the United Kingdom have modified their citizenship laws at different times, granting citizenship by birth only if at least one of the parent is a citizen of the country or legal permanent residence who has lived in the country for several years. Germany has never granted unconditional birthright citizenship, but has traditionally used jus sanguinis, so giving up the requirement of at least one citizen parent. Germany has softened rather than tightened its citizenship laws. However, unlike the children born and grown up in Germany, non-EU and non-Swiss citizen parents born and grown up abroad usually cannot have dual citizenship themselves. No European country presently grants unconditional birthright citizenship. However, most countries in the Americas, example, United States, Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, do so. In Africa, Lesotho and Tanzania grant unconditional birthright citizenship. And so do in the Asian Pacific region, Fiji, Pakistan, and Tuvalu. So that's what birth tourism here. So now, what is in the news? What is happening, people? And this is very important because it's going to change the entire face of the country. Now, birth tourism is very interesting because in Canada, what I've been looking at and what I've been being told by people, you could correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, I would like to know myself. It is very situational what country you're from. Because I had a friend that, from Portugal had a baby in Canada, and they told her, no, your baby can't be Canadian. So is it only specific cultures are allowed to take advantage of the birth tourism? So Fed studying birth tourism as new data shows higher non-resident birth rates. So it's going up. Non-resident birth rates are going up. Ottawa, with the new research showing that more babies born in Canada to a foreign residence than Statistics Canada realized. So remember when we're talking about Statistics Canada and they're saying people are going back to be, Mike, the number one my immigration into Canada is the Philippines. No, they deported tons of Filipino people, and there's not a lot of them coming in anymore. They've shut it down about 3 years ago. So when you go to Stats Canada and look at the number one immigrant, it's always Philippines. But for some bizarre reason, Filipinos are disappearing or going back to their country, right? So the federal government is studying the issue of birth tourism in the hope of better understanding how many women travel to Canada to have babies who are born Canadian citizens. Using numbers from the Canadian Institute for Health Information, which captures billing information directly from hospitals, researchers Andrew Griffith found 3,200 babies were born here to women that weren't Canadian residents in 2016, compared to with 313 babies were recorded by Statistics Canada. So why would they cut it down 90%? I mean, like, what is that? 10, 20. So why would they only post 10% of the births instead of the full percentage. The findings suggest not only that the numbers are higher than previously reported, but that it's a growing trend, Griffith says. The data shows the steady growth in the number of babies born in hospitals to women who are residents of other countries by absolute numbers and percentage for all provinces except Quebec, Griffith wrote in the article Policy Options, published by the Institute of Research for Public Policy. These births total just over 1% of all live births in English Canada. A petition tabled recently in the House of Commons by Liberal Member of Parliament Joe Pescilazido, we'll just call him Joe Pesci, calls on Canada to take stronger measures to end birth tourism, saying it abuses Canada's social welfare system. Immigration Minister Ahmed Hussein responded saying his department has commissioned research to get a better picture of the scope of the issue in Canada. While these statistics indicate this is not a widespread practice, the Government of Canada recognized the need to better understand the extent of this practice as well as it impacts, Hussein said in his response to tabled in Parliament. The department has commissioned CIHI to perform this research. The issue of so-called birth tourism has been polarizing in Canada. Not paralyzing, but polarizing. With the Liberals defending the current law that gives them automatic citizenship to anyone born in Canada's soil except for children of foreign diplomats. Conservative Party members passed a policy resolution during their... You know why, foreign diplomats? Because that's the whole world. That's countries that... You know, if it was specific countries, then they would do it. But foreign diplomats are like, oh, you're from this country? Yeah, it's not going to work here in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Conservative Party members passed a policy resolution during their banal convention this summer, calling the government to end the birthright citizenship unless one of the parents of the child born in Canada is a Canadian citizen and permanent resident of Canada. Leader Andrew Scheer said at the time one of the goals was to end the practice of women coming to Canada simply to give birth to a child that would automatically have Canadian citizenships. Other countries have ended and modified their birthright citizenship laws, including the United Kingdom, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, India, and Dominican Republic, Thailand, and Portugal. Recently, U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to end birthright citizenship in the United States, although critics have argued such a change could violate the country's constitution. You know what? That's a very situational... That's a matter that could be discussed. That's something that could be brought to the table, not, oh, he's making fun of me. Arrest him and charge him for making fun of me. Canada did explore changing Canada's existing birthright policy under Stephen Harper's consecutive government. This work ultimately found any change to the law would have significant impacts, according to senior government official who spoke to the Canadian press on background. Many Canadians, 40% or more, don't have passports and use birth certificates to prove their citizenship. A change in birthright citizenship rules would mean they'd need new forms of identification to prove their citizenship and get government services. A 2013 estimate pegged the cost of changing the rules at $20 million to $30 million plus $7 million in extra costs for federal governments every year. The senior official said he further noted that this did not include costs of the provinces and territories, which would be even higher because they're responsible for more personal documents than the federal government is. The Conservatives did not change the policy, nor will the Liberals, said Matthew, a spokesperson for Hussein. The birth on soil principle has been enshrined in our legislation since Canada's citizenship first came in existence in 1947. A change to this principle was planned by the Harper Conservatives, but abandoned after listening to the advice of experts, Janice said. But Immigration Department still wants better understanding on what's going on. So this is a back and forth argument. So now let's go into what's going on. So, study shows, this is from today. Study shows birth tourism much more prevalent in Canada than reported by StatsCan. So let's see if this has any music. If it does, I can't play it. Oh, it's always tampons. Just really nice. Oh, it's got 20% more coverage. Well, better coverage and protection, right? I mean, okay.
That is calling for an end to the practice of birthright citizenship, or what they're calling
birth tourism. So what is birth tourism and how does it work? Just solely, meaning right of the soil, has been in place since the first Canadian Citizenship Act in 1947. It states that any person born on Canadian soil can get a birth certificate and apply for a Canadian passport right away, granting them automatic citizenship, even if their parents aren't Canadian citizens. The issue arises with what some are referring to as birth tourism, or passport babies, when pregnant non-Canadian women fly to Canada in order to give birth, and thus secure citizenship for their babies.
Some people think that it's not fair that whoever just happens to be lucky enough to be born on Canadian soil is necessarily a Canadian citizen. And the issue really becomes particularly rankling when you have people who come over to Canada as tourists, or maybe people who are here without status at all, who then have babies here and their children are accorded every right and privilege of Canadian citizenship.
The child then receives benefits like healthcare and education, and when they become adults, they can also sponsor their parents to immigrate to Canada. According to Statistics Canada, 313 babies were born to non-Canadian mothers in 2016. That number has gone down significantly since 2012, when 699 babies were born to non-Canadian mothers. Canada and the US are some of the few developed countries that grant automatic citizenship to children born on their soil. Countries like Australia and New Zealand only grant citizenship to babies when at least one parent is a citizen or legal resident. Other countries like India have abolished the law completely. For more on this story, check out globalnews.ca.
Okay, I kind of want to throw that out there. I need studies, so this goes back to where we are. So now let's go to the meat and potatoes here. Hospitals show birth tourism rising in major cities. An analysis of hospitals and financial data shows that birth tourism is rising, and not just in BC. The impact can be passed off as insignificant. Could a single hospital in Richmond, BC be the only one in the country experiencing a boom in birth tourism? We'll get to that hospital in a second, okay? This was the question many people had earlier this year when politicians began taking notice of the unusually high number of non-residents giving birth in a Richmond hospital. I decided to take a closer look at the available data. So, again, it goes back to what the last article said. So, this is by province. Births in Canada by province to mothers who reside outside of Canada. Reported by statistics. So, okay, let's go back to the first article. StatsCan is not giving the proper numbers. Do you remember the first article we read? They're only showing 10%. So what is happening? Is any of this even real? So it's growing exponentially. So here it is. This is by province now. So it's 2,000. So it's going up, of course, 2,500 in 2017. And the percentage of total births. So it's starting to make a dent into the main. But this is what StatsCan is saying. The Canadian Institute of Health Information. So that's what they want us to tell. That's what they want us to tell us. So here's the hospitals with the most foreign birth tourism. According to what this is saying, okay, guys. So non-resident births. So 469 in Richmond Hospital, 163 in Scarborough Hospital, St. Mary's Hospital, 361 in Quebec, 132 in St. Paul's Hospital, Mount Sinai, that's in BC. Antonio, my son was born there. Mackenzie Health, Richmond Hill Hospital, 229. So there's quite a few hospitals that are starting to see this. This is how it starts, right? And once they start lying about the numbers, StatsCan, it becomes a problem because the citizens don't even know what's going on in their own country. And that's nothing new. That's been always happening, right? Richmond Hospital is ground zero for the skyrocketing number of anchor babies born in Canada, study indicates. The study authorized by the Institute Research, published on Thursday, suggests 21.9% of children delivered in a Richmond hospital are born to non-resident mothers. 21.9. That's huge, guys. More than double percentage born in any other Canadian hospital. And I think it's going to get bigger, and there's going to be more. It's because the Canadian proper can't afford to have more kids. That's why we're not repopulating, right? I mean, I'm going to have another child, so I'm going to have a total of 3 of my children and 1 stepson of 4 kids, right? But a lot of us aren't. A lot of Canadians aren't repopulating. While Statistics Canada report found roughly 312 babies are born in the country each year to mothers whose place of residency is officially listed outside of Canada. So these are the ones that are not fraudulent, documented. These ones are like they're trying to kind of, so who knows how much, just like the housing crisis we're having. Who knows how much underlying stuff is happening that we don't even know about. So this is becoming a huge problem here. Even though I believe birth tourism epicenters is in Richmond and the hospital in Richmond, I think you're starting to see birth tourism as an institution. That's what they told the newspaper. There are individuals that are profiting from this, and I think that's the most heinous thing. You're getting individuals that are abusing the immigration and citizenship system and are profiting off an illegitimate, and the government has said, unethical system. A Thursday statement from the Vancouver Coastal Health confirmed that the numbers in IRPP study through slightly more children were actually born to non-resident mothers. So slightly more children were actually born to non-resident mothers. Wow. While the IRPP study shows 469 non-resident births occurred in Richmond Hospital in 2017-2018, show 476 children were born to 469 resident mothers. So this is heavy, guys. So this is what they're trying to do to address the problem. Amending immigration laws to make it an offense if a woman fails to disclose the delivery of a child as a purpose to visit Canada and make the child's citizenship fraudulent due to its procurement through misrepresentation. Adopting a qualified birthright approach by which a child is granted citizenship only when at least one parent is either Canadian citizen or permanent resident the child resides in Canada for at least 10 years after birth. But here's the deal with that. But there's a lot of countries you just can't, that in Canada, I know in Canada, right, there's a lot of countries that not just anybody could come here and have a child. If they do, they just basically just send you back. They don't, there's a lot of countries you're not allowed to. I think Spain is one. I think Portugal's one too. Because I know somebody personally that had a baby here, and the baby wasn't given citizenship. It had to, basically, when the mother returned, they would have to apply for, like a birth. I don't know how, but that's what happened. And she didn't come to have, but here's the deal with that situation. She didn't come to Canada to have the baby. The baby was born, I think it was 5 weeks early. So that's what happened. So the baby was born after, I think it was 2 months, they let the baby out. And then she went back to Portugal after. So it could be that she wasn't purposely, because she had to come for a funeral. So I think that she purposely didn't want to have the baby in Canada, and it was just by chance. So I don't know, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of countries I think that are not allowed to just come here and have a baby. I think they'll give you a really hard time at the airport too. So, and what's this one here? Birth tourism is a growing issue in Canada. This is from the Toronto Sun. Again, it goes over the same statistics we went over in the other articles we read. So it's becoming a problem. What is going to happen with the elections in Canada? I'd like to know, guys. We covered the American elections with the midterms. Midterm report cards were handed out in the States. Australia is a gong show with elections, and I think they have, what, 4 prime ministers in the last year or year and a half. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is birth tourism becoming a problem? See, birth tourism works in a certain way, a very unique way. A lot of people don't think of this. You need to have money to come to a country, stay in a hotel, and have accommodations, and set everything up, and this and that. You need a lot of money to do this too. So basically, it's attracting people with a lot of cash, right? I don't know. I'm throwing that out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Birth tourism, is it right or wrong? Now that more, in some hospitals, according to one of the articles, more babies are being born to foreign mothers. What does that mean for Canada? Let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.